Part 2, the next morning. The jungle greeted the team with its usual symphony of chirps, growls, and rustling leaves. The air was thick with humidity, clinging to their skin like an invisible blanket. Ryan led the group deeper into the wilderness, his sharp eyes scanning the dense foliage for any sign of movement. Lauren walked beside him, her scanner humming softly as it collected data on the surrounding environment. Daniel and Emily followed close behind, their footsteps crunching against the damp soil. "Do you think we'll see another one of those creatures?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with both curiosity and nervousness. "It's likely," Ryan replied without looking back. "This planet's crawling with them. Marcus is right, though. They'll keep their distance as long as we make eye contact." "But why would they do that?" Daniel chimed in, adjusting the strap of his toolbox. "I mean, humans aren't exactly apex predators here. We're strangers to this place." "That's what we're trying to figure out," Lauren said, glancing down at her scanner. "There has to be some kind of trigger something about us that sets off their instincts." As they pushed forward, the jungle seemed to grow darker, the canopy above blocking out most of the sunlight. Shadows danced across the ground, and the temperature dropped slightly. The team moved cautiously, their senses heightened by the eerie stillness around them. Even the birdsong had faded, leaving only the sound of their own breathing and the occasional snap of a twig underfoot. Suddenly, Lauren stopped, holding up a hand. "Wait," she whispered. "Do you hear that?" Everyone froze, straining to listen. At first, there was nothing but silence. Then, faintly, they heard a low guttural growl coming from somewhere ahead. Ryan signaled for the group to stay together as he stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his weapon. The growl grew louder, accompanied by the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps crashing through the underbrush. A moment later, a pair of glowing yellow eyes appeared between the trees. Another Viraxer emerged, its massive frame towering over them. Unlike the one they'd encountered before, this creature didn't hesitate. It let out a deafening roar, baring its teeth as it charged toward the group. "Stand your ground," Ryan shouted, raising his arms to draw the creature's attention. His heart pounded in his chest as the Viraxer barreled closer, its claws tearing through vines and branches in its path. Just as the beast reached them, Ryan locked eyes with it. For a split second, time seemed to slow. The Viraxer skidded to a halt, its momentum carrying it forward a few more steps before it froze completely. Its growl faltered, turning into a soft whimper. Then, just like the first one, it turned and fled, disappearing into the jungle as quickly as it had come. The team stood in stunned silence, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Lauren broke the quiet first, lowering her scanner.
"I was
Incredible. What did I tell you?" Ryan said, forcing a grin, despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Eye contact works every time, but how?" Emily asked, her brow furrowed. "What is it about us that makes them react like that? It's not natural behavior for a predator." Lauren knelt down, examining the ground where the Viraxer had stood moments earlier. "Maybe it's not just about predators. Look," she pointed to several smaller tracks leading away from the area. "These belong to other animals, smaller ones. They've been avoiding this spot too." Daniel crouched beside her, running his fingers over the imprints. "You think whatever scares the big guys also scares the little ones?" "It's possible," Lauren said, standing up. "Whatever's causing this reaction isn't limited to specific species, something universal." Ryan crossed his arms, staring into the direction the Viraxer had fled. "Universal or not, it's giving me the creeps. Let's keep moving. The sooner we find answers, the better." As the day wore on, the team continued their exploration, encountering more signs of the strange phenomenon. Birds scattered when someone looked directly at them, and even insects seemed to avoid human gazes. Lauren recorded everything meticulously, her mind racing with theories. Could it be pheromones? Some kind of electromagnetic field humans emitted? Or was it something far more complex? By late afternoon, they stumbled upon a clearing where the jungle opened up to reveal a series of ancient stone structures, half buried. In the earth, the ruins were covered in moss and vines, but intricate carvings could still be seen etched into the weathered surfaces. Emily's eyes lit up as she approached the nearest wall, brushing away dirt to reveal a faded image of a humanoid. Figures standing among alien creatures? "Look at this," she said, excitement coloring her voice. "These carvings, they're depictions of beings interacting with animals. See how the figures are positioned. They're dominating them." Ryan joined her, studying the artwork. Dominating them. How? Emily traced a line with her finger. "It's subtle, but look, the animals are bowing or retreating. And these symbols here, they might represent fear or submission." Lauren examined another section of the carving, pointing to a pair of large, glowing eyes depicted above the humanoid figures. "What about this?" "Those eyes are exaggerated compared to the rest of the design. Could it mean something symbolic?" Daniel suggested, scratching his head. "Like maybe whoever made these believed eyes held power? Maybe they actually did," Lauren said thoughtfully. "If these carvings are accurate, it could explain why the creatures here react so strongly to human eye contact." Ryan frowned, stepping back to take in the entire scene. "So you're saying these ruins might have something to do with what's happening now?" "It's a possibility," Emily admitted. "Whoever built this place left behind a message or a warning. Maybe they knew something we don't." Before anyone could respond, a loud screech echoed through the clearing. The team spun around, just in time to see a swarm of small winged creatures darting toward them. Their sharp beaks gleamed in the dim light as they swooped low, clearly intent on attacking. "Stay calm," Ryan ordered, raising his hands to shield his face. As the creatures neared, he locked eyes with the lead one. To everyone's amazement, the swarm hesitated mid-flight, hovering uncertainly before veering off in another direction. "They're afraid of us," Lauren murmured, watching the creatures disappear into the sky. "Even the smallest ones." "And it's not just aggression driving them away," Emily added. "It's something deeper, something primal." Ryan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "All right, let's pack up and head back to the ship. We've got enough to go on. For now, tomorrow, we'll focus on analyzing these ruins and figuring out who or what left them behind." That night, aboard the Aurora Dawn, the team gathered in the lab to review their findings. Lauren uploaded images of the carvings while Emily worked on deciphering the symbols. Daniel tinkered with a piece of equipment he'd salvaged from the ruins, muttering to himself as he tried to understand its purpose. Ryan paced the room, lost in thought. "This doesn't add up," he finally said, stopping near the table. "Why would an entire ecosystem evolve to fear humans? We've only been exploring this part of the galaxy for a few decades. There's no way that's enough time for such a drastic change, unless it's not evolution," Lauren countered, turning to face him. "What if it's memory? What if these creatures inherited their fear from ancestors who encountered something like humans long ago?" "You mean like genetic memory?" Daniel asked, looking up from his work. "Exactly," Lauren replied. "If an event traumatic enough occurred thousands of years ago, it could have embedded itself into the DNA of these species. That would explain why even the smallest animals react the same way." Emily nodded slowly, tapping her pen against her notebook. "And if that's true, then the ruins might hold the key to understanding what happened. Whoever created them could have been responsible for shaping this planet's ecosystem." Ryan leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. "Which brings us back to the big question, who were they, and what connection, if any, do they have to us?" No one had an answer. The pieces of the puzzle were scattered, incomplete. But as the team sat in silence, each member couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of uncovering something monumental. Something that would change not only their understanding of Xylo 7, but perhaps the entire galaxy. For now, though, all they could do was wait, and prepare for whatever mysteries tomorrow might bring. Part 1. The starship Aurora Dawn drifted silently through the vastness of space, its sleek metallic hull reflecting faint glimmers of distant stars. Inside, Captain Ryan Carter leaned back in his chair on the bridge, staring at the swirling, blue-green orb that filled the view screen. Planet Xylo 7 loomed ahead, a world shrouded in mystery and danger. The mission briefing had been vague distress signals from colonists who claimed something strange was happening in the jungles below, but Ryan knew better than to underestimate the unknown. Beside him, Lieutenant Lauren Bennett adjusted her. glasses, as she studied the data scrolling across her console. A biologist by trade, Lauren was one of the brightest minds aboard the ship. Her sharp eyes scanned reports about Zillow 7's ecosystem, which was home to some of the galaxy's deadliest creatures. She frowned slightly, muttering under her breath. "What's bothering you?" Ryan asked, turning to face her. Lauren glanced up, pushing a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "It's just, these reports don't add up. The settlers say they're being attacked less frequently, no, not because the predators are gone, but because they seem afraid of us." "Afraid?" Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Afraid of what?" "Humans aren't exactly intimidating compared to some of the things we've seen out here." "That's the thing," Lauren said, tapping a finger against her screen. "They're not scared of our weapons or technology. They're scared of us. Specifically, they flinch when someone makes eye contact with them." Ryan crossed his arms, leaning forward slightly. "You think it's psychological? Maybe the settlers are imagining it?" "No," Lauren replied firmly. "They've sent footage. It's real. Every time a human locks eyes with one of those beasts, it freezes, like it's seen a ghost. Then it runs away." Ryan sat back in his chair, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "That doesn't make any sense. Why would animals evolve to fear humans? We've only been exploring this region of space for a few decades." "I don't know," Lauren admitted. "But I'd bet anything it has something to do with their instincts. Something deep in their biology is telling them to stay far away from us." Before Ryan could respond, the intercom crackled to life. "Captain, we're approaching landing coordinates," came the voice of Daniel Hayes, the ship's chief engineer. "Roger that," Ryan replied. He turned to Lauren. "Looks like we'll have to figure this out on the ground. Ready to meet some monsters?" Lauren gave him a wry smile. "As ready as I'll ever be." The descent to Zillow 7 was smooth, the ship cutting through thick layers of atmosphere until it touched down near the edge of a dense jungle. Outside, the air was humid and heavy, carrying the scent of wet earth and exotic vegetation. The team stepped onto the surface, clad in lightweight environmental suits designed to protect them from the planet's harsh conditions. Ryan led the way, followed closely by Lauren, Daniel, and Emily Shaw, the ship's linguist. Each member carried equipment tailored to their expertise. Lauren held a scanner capable of analyzing biological samples, while Emily carried a portable device meant to decode alien languages if necessary. Daniel lugged a toolbox filled with gadgets, just in case something broke or needed fixing. "This place feels alive," Emily murmured, looking around at the towering trees and vibrant plants. "Like it's watching us." "It probably is," Ryan said dryly. Stay alert. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, the sounds of wildlife grew louder, accompanied through the air, accompanied by the rustling of leaves and snapping of twigs. The team moved cautiously, keeping their eyes peeled for any signs of movement. Lauren paused occasionally to scan plants and insects, while Daniel muttered to himself as he inspected the terrain. Then, without warning, the jungle fell silent. Ryan stopped mid-step, raising a hand to signal the others. "Did you hear that?" "Hear? What?" Daniel whispered, his voice tight with tension. The silence, Ryan replied. "Something's wrong." Before anyone could react, a massive shadow moved between the trees. Branches snapped as a creature emerged into view of Raxor, one of the largest predators on Zillow 7, standing over 10 feet tall. Its muscular body was covered in thick, armored scales, and its jaws bristled with razor-sharp teeth. Its yellow eyes gleamed with primal hunger as it locked onto the intruders. "Everyone, stay calm," Ryan ordered, his hand hovering near the weapon strapped to his side. "Don't make any sudden moves." The Vraxor let out a guttural roar, lowering its head as it prepared to charge. Lauren instinctively took a step back, clutching her scanner tightly. But then something unexpected happened. The beast froze, its glowing eyes locked onto Ryan's face. And for a moment, time seemed to stand still. The Vraxor's muscles tensed, but instead of attacking, it hesitated. Its growl softened into a low whine, and slowly, almost reluctantly, it began to retreat. Backing away, it disappeared into the shadows of the jungle, leaving the team stunned. What just happened? Daniel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I told you, Lauren said, exhaling sharply. Eye contact. That's exactly what the settlers described. But why? Emily wondered aloud. Why would it react like that? Ryan shook his head, still staring at the spot where the Voxer had vanished. I don't know. But whatever the reason, it saved our lives. Back at the settlement later that evening, the team debriefed with the colonists. The small outpost consisted of prefabricated buildings surrounded by high fences, topped with electrified wires. Despite the defenses, the settlers looked uneasy, constantly glancing toward the jungle beyond. One of the colonists, a man named Marcus, spoke up as the group gathered around a flickering holographic map. We didn't believe it at first either, he said, addressing Ryan. Thought maybe it was a trick of the light or something. But after weeks of living here, we've seen it happen too many times to deny it. Those things, they're terrified of us. Right. Terrified enough to leave you alone? Ryan asked skeptically. Marcus nodded.
For the most part, yeah. They still attack sometimes, especially if they catch us off guard. But whenever someone looks them straight in the eye, they back off. It's like they see something in us that
scares them. Ryan exchanged a glance with Lauren, who was jotting notes furiously. Any idea what triggered this behavior? Has anything changed recently? Marcus shrugged. Not that we know of. We've been here 6 months, and it started happening within the first few weeks. Could be something in the environment, though. Or maybe, he trailed off, looking uncomfortable? Maybe what? Emily prompted gently. Maybe it's not just the animals, Marcus finished quietly. Maybe it's us. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Ryan stood, breaking the tension. All right, everyone, get some rest. Tomorrow, we start looking for answers. As the team dispersed, Lauren lingered behind, staring at the jungle through a window. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. Whatever was happening on Xylo 7, it was bigger than any of them had anticipated. And somewhere out there, hidden beneath the trees and shadows, lay the truth waiting to be uncovered. Part 3, the next morning, the team gathered in the Aurora Dawn's briefing room. The air was charged with anticipation as they reviewed the data collected from the previous day. Lauren stood at the front of the room, her scanner connected to a large display screen that showed images of the ruins and various scans of the jungle ecosystem. Emily sat nearby, her notebook open and filled with sketches of the carvings she'd studied. Daniel tinkered with the artifact he'd brought, back, occasionally glancing up to offer input. Ryan paced slowly, his brow furrowed in deep thought. All right, Lauren began, tapping the screen to highlight one of the carvings. From what we've gathered so far, it seems these ruins are much older than anything we've encountered. Before possibly tens of thousands of years old. That tracks with the settlers' reports, Ryan said, stopping to face the group. If these structures have been here for millennia, they could hold clues about the behavior of the planets. Wildlife. Emily nodded, flipping through her notes. And based on the symbols I've analyzed, there's a recurring theme: dominance. Whoever created these carvings saw themselves were seen as rulers over other species. But rulers how? Daniel asked, setting down his tools. Through force? Technology? Or something else? That's where things get tricky. Lauren admitted, we don't know yet. But if their influence is still affecting the animals today, it must have been significant. Ryan turned back to the screen, pointing at the glowing eyes depicted in the artwork. These eyes, they're central to every carving. They're exaggerated, almost godlike. Could they represent actual beings? Or maybe some kind of technology? It's possible, Emily replied. In many ancient cultures, eyes are symbols of power or perception. If these figures had advanced abilities, it might explain why the creatures here react so strongly to human eye contact. Lauren frowned, leaning closer to the display. But humans didn't build these ruins. Weren't even aware this planet existed until recently. So why would the animals associate us with those figures? Maybe because we look similar, Daniel suggested. If the creators of these carvings resembled humans, endowed remotely, the animals might mistake us for them. Ryan nodded slowly, considering the idea. So that could be part of it. But there's more going on here. Something about our presence, triggers an instinctual response in these creatures. Like it's not just visual, it's deeper. Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors buzzed softly. No? Lauren glanced at her console, then looked up in surprise. There's activity outside. Something's moving near the ruins. Ryan straightened immediately. Let's gear up. If whatever left those carvings is still around, we need to find out. Back on the surface, the team approached the clearing cautiously. The ruins loomed ahead, partially obscured by mist, that clung to the ground like a ghostly veil. As they drew closer, the sensors picked up faint energy readings emanating from beneath the largest structure. Lauren adjusted her scanner, her expression growing more focused with each step. This is unusual, she muttered, studying the readings. It's not natural radiation, it's artificial. Someone or something is powering this place. Could it be the settlers? Emily asked, keeping her voice low. No, Lauren replied firmly. The colonists don't have tech capable of generating this kind of energy. This is something else entirely. Daniel knelt beside a section of cracked stone, brushing away dirt to reveal what looked like a control panel embedded in the ground. Guys, check this out. It looks like some kind of interface. Ryan joined him, inspecting the panel closely. Can you activate it? I'll try, Daniel said, pulling out a small device from his toolkit. He connected it to the panel, his fingers flying over the controls as he worked to bypass the ancient system. After a few tense moments, the panel hummed to life, projecting a holographic map into the air above it. The map shimmered with intricate details, showing not only Xylo 7 but also star systems far beyond it. Lines connected certain planets, forming a network of pathways that pulsed faintly with light. Emily leaned in, her eyes wide with wonder. It's a map of the galaxy, she whispered. But it's incomplete. Some sections are missing. Look here, Lauren added, pointing to a cluster of stars near the center. This area has brighter connections than the rest. It's like it was important to whoever made this. Ryan studied the map carefully, his gaze lingering on one particular star marked with a glowing symbol. What does that mean? He asked. Gesturing toward the symbol, Emily hesitated, tracing its shape with her finger. I think it represents a home world. It's maybe the origin point of whoever built these ruins. If that's true, Lauren said, her voice tinged with excitement, then we might be looking at evidence of an ancient civilization, one that spanned multiple planets. But what happened to them? Daniel wondered aloud. Why did they vanish? Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A low rumble echoed through the clearing as a hidden mechanism within the ruins began to activate. The stones shifted, revealing a narrow passageway leading underground. Dust and debris fell from the ceiling as the entrance widened, inviting ore, perhaps warning the team to proceed. Well, Ryan said dryly, gripping his weapon tightly. Looks like we found our way in. The passageway descended steeply into the earth, its walls lined with smooth metal that glowed faintly with an inner light. The air grew cooler as they ventured deeper, carrying a metallic temps that hinted at advanced technology. Lauren scanned the surroundings continuously, her scanner picking up stronger energy signals with each step. These readings are off the charts.
Ow,
she murmured, adjusting the settings. Whatever's down here, it's still operational. It's operational after thousands of years, Daniel asked skeptically. That's hard to believe. Not if it's self-sustaining, Emily replied. Some ancient civilizations developed energy sources that lasted indefinitely. If this place was designed to endure, it makes sense. As they reached the end of the corridor, they entered a vast chamber filled with towering machines. The equipment hummed softly, its surfaces covered in strange markings that resembled the carvings from the ruins above. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, atop which rested a crystalline object pulsing with a soft blue light. What is that? Ryan asked, stepping forward cautiously. Lauren approached the pedestal, her scanner beeping rapidly, emitting a signal, a very specific one. I think it's broadcasting something. Maybe a message. Or a warning, Emily added, her tone uneasy. Look at the patterns on the walls. They match the ones we saw earlier, but they're more detailed. These aren't just carvings, they're instructions. Instructions for what? Daniel asked, examining the nearest machine. For controlling life, Lauren said quietly, her eyes fixed on the crystal. If this technology can manipulate biology, it could explain why the creatures on this planet fear humans. Whoever used this system may have programmed their instincts. Ryan frowned, turning to face the group. So, you're saying someone engineered an entire ecosystem to obey them? It's possible, Emily replied. If they had the means. They could have rewritten the genetic code of every species on this planet, including their reactions to certain stimuli. Like eye contact, Daniel finished, nodding slowly. That would explain why the animals flinch when they see us. Our eyes remind them of their creators. The implications weighed heavily on the team as they stood in silence, absorbing the magnitude of the discovery. The ruins weren't just relics of a forgotten age. They were evidence of a civilization capable of reshaping reality itself. And if humans bore any resemblance to those creators, it raised unsettling questions about humanity's place in the universe. Ryan broke the quiet first, his voice firm. We need to take samples and document everything. Whatever secrets this place holds, we can't leave them buried. Lauren nodded, already collecting data from the machines. Emily sketched the markings on the walls while Daniel examined the pedestal and its glowing crystal. As they worked, none of them noticed the faint glow of the map overhead changing, its lines shifting to form new connections. Unbeknownst to the team, the ruins had awakened and they were no longer alone. Part 4. The chamber remained eerily quiet as the team worked, their movements deliberate and careful. The machines around them hummed softly, their purpose still a mystery. Lauren crouched near one of the devices, her scanner recording bursts of energy that pulsed in rhythmic patterns. Emily traced the intricate markings on the walls with her fingers, sketching them into her notebook with precision. Daniel tinkered with the pedestal, inspecting the glowing crystal for any signs of activation or hidden mechanisms. Ryan stood watch, his eyes scanning the room for anything unusual. This is incredible, Lauren whispered, glancing up from her scanner. These machines are generating some kind of biological signal. It's faint, but it matches the frequency we've been detecting from the creatures outside. Biological signal? Ryan asked, stepping closer. What does that mean? It means these machines could be influencing the ecosystem, Lauren explained, her voice tinged with awe. If they're broadcasting a signal, it might be embedding itself into the DNA of every living thing on this planet, programming instincts, fears, even behaviors. So the animals aren't just afraid of us because of what they see, Emily added, looking up from her sketches. They're programmed to react that way. Someone or something designed them to respond to human-like traits. Daniel frowned, adjusting the settings on his toolkit. But why would anyone do that? What's the point of controlling an entire planet's wildlife? To maintain order, Lauren suggested. If you can manipulate instincts, you can. Keep predators in check, ensure prey populations thrive, and create balance. It's like managing nature from the inside. Ryan crossed his arms, his expression thoughtful. Or maybe it's about control. If you can shape how creatures think and act, you can rule without resistance. Before anyone could respond, the crystal on the pedestal began to glow brighter, its light pulsing in time with the machines around them. The hum grew louder, reverberating through the chamber like a heartbeat. The team froze, their attention drawn to the crystal as it emitted a soft, melodic tone. What's happening? Emily asked, her voice tight with unease. I don't know, Daniel replied, backing away from the pedestal. I didn't touch anything. Lauren moved closer. To the crystal, her scanner beeping rapidly. It's reacting to our presence. The signal it's changing. As she spoke, the holographic map above them flickered to life again. This time, however, the lines connecting the stars shifted, forming new pathways that converged on Zelo 7. A bright pulse of light radiated outward, illuminating the chamber in a blinding flash. When the light faded, the team found themselves staring at a new image projected onto the wall. A humanoid figure standing tall, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly intensity. That's us, Emily murmured, her voice trembling. At least it looks like us. The figure was unmistakably human-like, with broad shoulders, defined features, and piercing eyes that seemed to stare directly into their souls. Around it, smaller figures cowered, their postures submissive. Symbols appeared beneath the image, scrolling across the wall in a language none of them recognized. "It's showing dominance," Lauren said, her voice barely above a whisper. Whoever created this technology wanted to leave a message, a reminder of their power. But who were they? Ryan asked, his gaze locked on the projection. "And why does it look so much like us?" "Maybe because we're related," Emily suggested hesitantly. "If humans share genetic ties with this civilization, it would explain why the animals here associate us with their creators." Lauren nodded slowly, her mind racing. "If that's true, then humanity isn't just another species struggling to survive. We're descendants of something far greater." The realization hung heavy in the air, each member of the team grappling with its implications. Before they could discuss further, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. The machines around them powered down abruptly, plunging the chamber into silence. The projection vanished, leaving only the faint glow of the crystal on the pedestal. "We need to get out of here," Ryan said firmly, gripping his weapon. "This place is unstable." Back aboard the Aurora Dawn, the team gathered in the lab to review their findings. Lauren uploaded the data collected from the ruins, while Emily worked on deciphering the symbols from the projection. Daniel examined the crystal, which he had carefully removed from the pedestal, testing it for any residual energy. Ryan paced the room, his thoughts consumed by the possibilities. "These symbols are similar to the ones we saw earlier," Emily said, pointing to her notes. "But there's something different about them. They seem personal." "Personal? How?" Ryan asked, stopping to face her. "They mention names," Emily replied, flipping through her sketches. "Specific individuals or titles, maybe? And it's like they're documenting achievements or milestones." Lauren asked to be referring to leaders, Lauren asked, leaning over the table. "If this civilization ruled over planets, they'd likely have a hierarchy." "It's possible," Emily admitted. "But if they did, where did they go? And why did they leave behind such advanced technology?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's sensors buzzed again. Lauren glanced at her console, her eyes widening in alarm. "There's movement outside, lots of it. Something's heading toward the ruins." Ryan straightened immediately. "Let's suit up. Whatever's coming, we need to be ready." On the surface, the jungle was alive with activity. The team approached the ruins cautiously, their weapons drawn. As they neared the clearing, they saw dozens of creatures gathering around the entrance to the underground chamber. Braxers, smaller predators, and even herbivores stood side by side, their eyes fixed on the ruins as if drawn by an invisible force. "They're not attacking each other," Lauren observed, lowering her scanner. "It's like they're waiting for something." "For us?" Daniel asked, his voice tense. "Maybe," Ryan replied, his grip tightening on his weapon. "Stay alert." As they stepped into the clearing, the creatures turned their heads in unison, locking eyes with the team. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the animals began to bow their heads, lowering their bodies in a gesture of submission. Even the largest Vraxer knelt before them, its massive frame trembling slightly. "What's going on?" Emily whispered, her voice filled. "With awe, they recognize us," Lauren said softly. "Whatever signal that crystal was emitting, it's affecting them too." Ryan exchanged a glance with the others, his expression unreadable. "This changes everything. If we can control these creatures, we could use them not just here, but anywhere." "No," Emily said firmly, shaking her head. "We can't exploit this. These animals are victims of manipulation. They deserve freedom, not more control." "She's right," Lauren agreed. "We have no idea what kind of damage we could cause if we interfere further. This technology wasn't meant for us." Ryan sighed, lowering his weapon. "All right. For now, we leave things as they are. But we need to understand what we're dealing with before we make any decisions." As the team watched, the creatures began to disperse, retreating into the jungle as quickly as they had arrived. The ruins stood silent once more, their secrets buried beneath layers of time and stone. But the team knew they had uncovered only the beginning of a much larger story one that would challenge everything. They thought they knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. For now, though, all they could do was return to the ship and prepare for whatever mysteries lay ahead. Part 5. The team returned to the Aurora Dawn with a mix of awe and unease. The events at the ruins had left them unsettled, their minds racing with questions they couldn't yet answer. Lauren immediately began analyzing the crystal Daniel had brought back, her scanner buzzing softly as it processed the data. Emily sat at the table, poring over her notes on the symbols and carvings. While Daniel tinkered with the pedestal fragment he'd salvaged, Ryan paced the room, his thoughts heavy with responsibility. "This crystal is unlike anything I've ever seen," Lauren said, breaking the silence. "It's emitting a low-frequency signal that seems to resonate with biological matter. If we're right about this being the source of the creature's behavior, then whoever created it knew exactly what they were doing." "Do you think it's still active?" Ryan asked, stopping near her console. "It's hard to say," Lauren replied, adjusting the settings on her scanner. "The signal is faint now, but it could flare up again under the right conditions. We need to handle it carefully. This thing might be more dangerous than we realize." Emily looked up from her notes, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The symbols keep referring to something called the Watchers. From what I can tell, it's a title or maybe a name for the beings who controlled this planet." "The Watchers," Ryan repeated, testing the word. So they weren't just rulers. They were observers too. "Maybe," Emily said hesitantly. "But if they were watching, what were they looking for? And why did they leave?" Before anyone could respond, Daniel let out a frustrated sigh. "This pedestal isn't giving me much to work with. Whoever built this stuff didn't want outsiders messing around with it. Everything's encrypted or locked behind some kind of failsafe." Ryan crossed his arms, his expression grim. "Then maybe we focus on what we do have, the crystal. It's tied to the creature's instincts. Understanding it could give us clues about the Watchers." Lauren nodded, turning back to her scanner. "I'll run a deeper analysis. Maybe there's something hidden in the signal itself, pattern or message." Hours later, the ship's lab was alive with activity. Lauren worked tirelessly, feeding data into her console as lines of code scrolled across the screen. Emily sat nearby, sketching connections between the symbols she'd studied. While Daniel tested the crystal's energy output using a series of experimental tools, Ryan monitored their progress, occasionally offering input or asking questions. "I think I've found something," Lauren announced suddenly, her voice tinged with excitement. She pointed to a waveform displayed on her screen. "The signal isn't random, it's structured. It's almost like music." "Music," Ryan echoed, stepping closer. "You mean it has rhythm?" "More than that," Lauren explained. "It's harmonic. These frequencies are arranged in patterns that mimic sound waves. If we translate them, we might get something meaningful." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You're saying this thing sings?" "In a way, yes," Lauren replied. "If the Watchers used this signal to influence biology, they might have designed it to resonate emotionally, not just physically. Music affects mood, memory, even instinct. If they wanted to program behaviors, using harmonics would make sense." Emily leaned forward, her eyes widening. "I could explain why the animals react so strongly to human eye contact. Our gaze might trigger a subconscious response linked to those harmonics." Ryan frowned, rubbing the back of his neck. "So when the creatures look at us, they're hearing echoes of this music in their heads." "It's possible," Lauren admitted. "If the signal embedded itself into their DNA, it could activate whenever they see something that reminds them of the Watchers, including humans." The implications weighed heavily on the team. They had uncovered evidence of a civilization capable of manipulating life itself, embedding commands deep within the genetic code of an entire ecosystem. But the bigger question remained: why? "We need to test this theory," Ryan said finally, breaking the silence. "If the crystal's signal is influencing the creatures, we should see how it reacts to different stimuli." "How do you propose we do that?" Daniel asked skeptically. "Can't just march back down there and start playing tunes." And Ryan agreed. "But we can simulate conditions here." "Lauren, can you replicate the signal?" Lauren hesitated, glancing at her scanner. "I can try, but it'll take time." And there's no guarantee it'll work without damaging the crystal or worse, triggering something we don't understand. Then proceed cautiously, Ryan instructed. We'll monitor everything closely. This signal really does control instincts. We need to know its limits. Later that evening, the team gathered in the observation deck, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the stars outside. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, vast and unknowable. Each member of the team wrestled with their own thoughts, the weight of their discovery pressing down on them. What happens if we're wrong? Curly asked quietly, breaking the silence. What if activating this signal causes more harm than good? We won't let that happen, Ryan replied firmly. Our job is to protect life, not exploit it. Whatever the Watchers did, we have to learn from it without repeating their mistakes. But what if we already are? Emily countered. By studying this crystal, aren't we continuing what they started? Manipulating things we don't fully understand? Lauren sighed, setting down her tablet. Maybe. But ignoring it won't change anything. Humanity has always been driven by curiosity. That's how we survive. The key is knowing when to stop. Knowing when to stop is easier said than done, Daniel muttered, staring out at the stars. Look at Earth. We've spent centuries pushing boundaries, often without considering the consequences. What makes us think we'll do any better out here? Ryan placed a hand on his shoulder, his tone steady. Because we're learning. Every step we take teaches us something new. Yes, we'll make mistakes, but we'll also grow. That's what exploration is about. Emily nodded slowly, her gaze thoughtful. And maybe that's why the Watchers left behind these ruins. Not as a warning, but as a lesson, a reminder of what's possible and what's at stake. The team fell silent, each lost in their own reflections. Outside, the galaxy continued to spin, indifferent to the struggles of those who sought to understand it. For now, all they could do was press forward, guided by the fragile hope that knowledge would lead to wisdom. The next morning, Lauren succeeded in replicating a portion of the signal. Using advanced audio software, she translated the harmonics into a sequence of tones that pulsed softly through the ship's speakers. The sound was hauntingly beautiful, a blend of melody and vibration that seemed to resonate deep within the body. It's working, Lauren said, her eyes glued to the monitors. The signal matches the frequency emitted by the crystal, and we just need to see how it interacts with living tissue. To test the effects, the team used samples collected from the jungle. Lauren exposed the specimens to the simulated signal, monitoring their reactions closely. As the tones played, the cells began to vibrate, responding to the harmonics in ways that defied conventional biology. It's altering their structure. Lauren murmured, her voice filled with wonder. Not harming them, enhancing them. This signal isn't just a tool for control. It's a catalyst for evolution. Evolution? Ryan asked, stepping closer. You mean it's improving them? In a way, Lauren replied. It's rewriting their genetic code, unlocking potential they didn't even know they had. Whoever the Watchers were, they weren't just rulers, they were creators. The revelation struck the team like a thunderclap. They had stumbled upon the remnants of a civilization that viewed itself not merely as dominant, but as architects of life itself. And if humanity shared any connection to these beings, it raised profound questions about their own destiny. As the day wore on, the team continued their experiments, piecing together fragments of a puzzle far greater than themselves. But beneath the surface of their discoveries lay a growing sense of unease. The Watchers had shaped an entire world, but at what cost? And if humans inherited their legacy, what responsibilities came with it? For now, the answers remained elusive, buried. In the depths of Xylo 7 and the ruins that whispered secrets to the stars. Part 6, the next morning, the team gathered in the lab aboard the Aurora Dawn, their faces etched with determination. Lauren stood at the center of the room, her scanner linked to a large display screen that showed real-time data from the crystal signal. The haunting melody played softly in the background, its harmonics resonating through the ship like an invisible pulse. Emily sat nearby, her notebook filled with sketches and notes on the Watcher symbols, while Daniel tinkered with the audio equipment, fine-tuning the frequency to match Lauren's findings. Ryan paced the room, his mind racing with possibilities. This is incredible, Lauren said, her voice tinged with awe as she studied the readings. The signal isn't just influencing biology, it's rewriting it. These creatures aren't just afraid of us. They're responding to a genetic code embedded in their DNA by the Watchers. Rewriting how? Ryan asked, stopping near the screen. What exactly does it do? It enhances certain traits, Lauren explained, pointing to a graph showing changes in cellular activity. For example, when exposed to the signal, the cells become more efficient, stronger muscles, sharper senses, even heightened intelligence. It's like the signal unlocks latent potential within them. Emily looked up from her notes, her brow furrowed. So the Watchers didn't just control these animals, they improved them, made them better versions of themselves? Yes, Lauren replied. But it's not natural evolution. This is artificial enhancement, designed to serve a specific purpose. Whatever the Watchers wanted, they engineered these creatures to fulfill it. Daniel frowned, adjusting the settings on his console. And what about humans? If we share any connection to the Watchers, could this signal affect us too? That's what worries me, Lauren admitted. We don't know how far-reaching this technology is or what it might do if it recognizes us as part of its design. Crossed his arms, his expression grim. Then we need to be careful. If this signal can alter biology, it could change us in ways we can't predict. Later that day, the team decided to conduct a controlled experiment, using samples of human tissue cultivated in the ship's medical bay. Lauren exposed the cells to a low-level version of the signal. The results were immediate tanned, unsettling. Under the microscope, the cells began to vibrate, their structure shifting subtly as the harmonics interacted with their DNA. It's working, Lauren whispered, her eyes glued to the monitor. The signal is affecting our cells too, but differently than the animal samples. Instead of enhancing physical traits, it seems to target neural pathways. What does that mean? I asked, leaning closer. It means it's influencing thought patterns, Lauren replied, her voice tight with concern. Not enough to cause harm, at least. Not yet. But enough to suggest that humans are compatible with this technology? Compatible? Emily echoed, her tone uneasy. You mean like we're meant to use it? Or be used by it? Daniel added darkly. If the Watchers designed this signal to control life, then maybe they intended for humans to play a role in their plans. Lauren nodded slowly, her mind racing. It's possible. If humanity shares genetic ties with the Watchers, then this signal might recognize us as successors or tools. Ryan straightened, his jaw tightening. Can't let that happen. Whatever the Watchers' intentions were, we have to make our own choices. We won't be puppets in someone else's game. But how do we stop it? Emily asked, her voice trembling slightly. If this signal is still active, if it's broadcasting across the planet, then we're already part of it. We isolate it, Ryan said firmly, contain the crystal, and shut down the ruins. If we can cut off the source, we might be able to neutralize its effects. Lauren hesitated, glancing at her scanner. It's not that simple. The signal has been embedded in the ecosystem for millennia. Even if we destroy the crystal, the instincts it created will remain. The creatures here will still react to humans the same way. Then we focus on understanding it, Ryan replied. If we can decode the signal, we might find a way to reverse its effects or at least prevent it from spreading. That evening, the team returned to the surface, determined to gather more information. The jungle was alive with sounds as they approached the ruins, the air thick with humidity. The entrance to the underground chamber remained undisturbed, its metal walls glowing faintly with an inner light. Lauren carried the crystal carefully, its pulsing energy contained within a protective case. Emily held her notebook close, ready to document any new discoveries, while Daniel lugged a portable scanner designed to map the chamber's layout. Ryan led the way, his weapon drawn but his gaze steady. Inside, the machines hummed softly, their presence both eerie and uninspiring. The pedestal stood silent, its surface cold and lifeless without the crystal. Lauren set the case down gently, opening it to reveal the glowing artifact. As soon as the lid clicked open, the chamber came alive once more. The machines powered up, their lights flickering as the signal surged through the room. It knows we're here, Lauren murmured, her scanner beeping rapidly. The crystal is amplifying the signal. Amplifying it, how? Ryan asked, his hand tightening on his weapon. It's broadcasting, Lauren replied, her voice tense. Not just locally, globally. Every creature on this planet is feeling it right now. Before anyone could respond, the ground trembled slightly. A low rumble echoed through the chamber, growing louder with each passing second. The walls began to shift, revealing hidden compartments filled with strange devices and artifacts. One of the machines projected a hologram into the era-swirling galaxy with Zillow 7 at its center. "What is that?" Emily asked, her voice filled with wonder. "It's a map," Daniel said, stepping closer. "But it's different from the one we saw before. This one shows connections between planets like a network." "A network of what?" Ryan demanded, his eyes scanning the hologram. "Of life," Lauren answered softly. The Watchers weren't just controlling this planet. They were shaping entire ecosystems across the galaxy. As she spoke, the hologram shifted, zooming in on Earth. The image showed continents and oceans, surrounded by lines of energy that pulsed faintly. Symbols appeared beneath the projection, scrolling across the walls in a language none of them recognized. "They knew about us," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "They've always known." Ryan turned to face the group, his expression resolute. "Then we find out why. If the Watchers had a plan for humanity, we need to understand it before it's too late." Back aboard the Aurora Dawn, the team worked tirelessly to analyze the new data. Lauren uploaded the holographic map into the ship's database, while Emily translated the symbols using patterns she'd identified earlier. Daniel examined the artifacts recovered from the ruins, searching for any clues about their function. Ryan monitored their progress, his thoughts consumed by the implications of their discovery. "These symbols keep referring to something called the Nexus," Emily said, breaking the silence. "From what I can tell, it's a central hub, a place where all the signals converge." "A hub for what?" Ryan asked, stepping closer. "For control," Emily replied. "If the Watchers use this technology to shape ecosystems, then the Nexus must be the source of their power." Lauren nodded, her gaze fixed on the map. "If we can locate the Nexus, we might be able to shut it down, or at least learn how." "It works, but where is it?" Daniel asked skeptically. "The map shows Earth, but there's nothing there that matches this description." "Maybe it's hidden," Lauren suggested. "Buried or disguised. The Watchers wouldn't leave something this important, unprotected." Ryan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Then we start looking. If the Nexus exists, it's our best chance at understanding what's happening not just here, but everywhere." As the team continued their work, the weight of their discovery settled over them. They had uncovered evidence of a civilization capable of reshaping life itself, embedding commands deep within the fabric of existence. But the bigger question remained: why had the Watchers done it? And what did they want from humanity? For now, the answers eluded them, buried in the depths of Zillow 7 and the ruins that whispered secrets to the stars. All they could do was press forward, guided by the fragile hope that knowledge would lead to wisdom and, perhaps, redemption.